Welcome to Elite Broker, the podcast showcasing the leading players and stories of success from Australia's broking industry.
Hi there and welcome back to Elite Broker. It's your host for today, Annie Kane. And this week we're talking to an asset finance broker, talking all things asset and finance broking, what sort of things they're financing, what trends they're seeing, and what it takes to succeed in this space. Joining me today is Nicole Romero, the asset finance specialist at Loan Market up in Hamilton. And we brought her into the studio today to talk about her journey into broking, what she's specialising in, and what it takes to succeed as an asset finance broker. Thanks for joining me, Nick. How are you going?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Beautiful day here in Sydney. So nice to be here.
Lovely day. I'm sorry we've taken you away from the sunshine to bring you into the studio, but hopefully we'll be creating our own sunshine here as we talk about all the things that you've been doing at Loan Market and asset finance broking.
Perfect. Thank you.
Now, give me a quick overview, if you will, Nick. For anyone who's not had the pleasure of meeting you, how long have you been a broker for?
Been a broker officially for, I believe, 4 years, but in the industry with a mortgage broker for 6 years now.
So 10 years of broking experience, but 4 asset finance on your own.
No, so 4 as a broker, but 6 in total. So 2 years of that was spent under my boss currently, just learning the ropes.
Yeah. So how and why did you become a broker?
I used to do car finance in a dealership. So originally came from Jetstar and learnt my customer service, my love for customer service there. And then from there, I went to buy a car one day and they said, do you want to do asset finance or car finance? And I said, sure, no dramas.
Sorry, how did that conversation? You went to buy a car and they were like, do you want a job?
Yeah, absolutely. It was probably a little bit more crass than that. It was a how much do you want to earn sort of question. But it genuinely was me sitting in a car dealership going, do you want a job?
Wow.
It was so interesting. And I think my interview was done in the car industry whilst I was signing the paperwork to get a new car. So very, very...
So you walked out with a car and a job?
Yeah. Yep. It was a
great day.
So strange.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was in the car industry for about 3 years. Loved what I did. There's a lot of... Anywhere you go, there's quite a bit of politics that are involved in what we do. And it's so male-dominated, where I found it at times quite difficult. My tenure there ran its course in the sense where I just didn't have any further progression. My boss at the time, my boss now, he was also in the car industry. He'd left and wanted to do better, so he started his business, a franchise. And then he said, do you want to come work for me? And I said, sure, absolutely.
So did you know each other from the car industry?
Yeah, we knew each other through where we'd work. I actually took his position working up at Mazda or Holden.
I've got a Mazda.
Oh, they're so great. I'm a Mazda fan. I've had maybe 4. But yes, so he was there and then he started Loan Market Newcastle CBD. Yeah. And he wanted someone that he could trust and rely and someone we could have fun together, you know. Yeah. And it was actually a really funny story because his wife was pregnant at the time. Just about to have her baby. I think they were in hospital, the memories or the story is he was in hospital. His wife had just given birth.
Wow.
And said, I want to restructure the business and I want to bring Nick on. So I started.
To his wife?
Yeah.
She had other things to worry about.
Oh, no, she's amazing. Honestly, if you met Jess, I think you might have met her that one time. But she's very incredible in terms of multitasking and doing everything at once. But yes, she probably took it as a shock though.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess as well for him, he's probably like, I want to spend time with my wife and my baby. So it'd be good to have a second pair of hands to rely on. And
absolutely.
Someone that he knew already.
Yeah.
So you became a broker. When you left the car dealership to become a finance broker, did you find it was different to what you were doing? Like, was it easily transferable? Did you have to learn new skills?
You know what? It's quite interesting. A business manager was what the title was for a car finance manager. Yeah. We tend to get a lot of arrogance because we're so good at what we do. What was really hard is relearning those habits. You know, we go into mortgage broking thinking that we know everything because we've done car finance. I don't need to be taught this. So it's just breaking down those habits and relearning new things that are better for us in the future.
Can you give me an example of what you had to learn? Or what you thought you knew that you maybe had to relearn?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is for us in the car industry, it was one-touch approvals. Like for us, the meaning of that meant something different. What I mean by that is a one-touch approval in the car industry is you submit your 2 pay slips, you put your profile into the lender, and you get it approved quite instantly. I think within 15 minutes. You push it through, it's approved.
Wow.
So coming into mortgage broking, there's a lot more to learn in terms of the client. You know, we have a responsibility. There's legislations in place for us to understand those clients and make sure we're putting them into a okay position that's not putting them into a worse position. Because
not overextending.
There's a lack of education when you become a business manager in the car industry, where you have to learn more, and it's for the better, I think, because your main role is to educate as a broker.
Yeah. And so this is, I think, again, the key difference here, and why a lot of the time I think mortgage and finance brokers are kind of saying, why are we even allowing people to offer car finance in dealerships? Because they're not under the same rules that we are, particularly when it comes to consumer asset finance like car loans. It's been like, surely if we're working in the best interest of our clients for consumer lending, everybody should.
Yes.
And I think that's a very fair argument. The lenders also don't. The banks don't have to abide by best interest either, but in the broking industry you do. So I think it's really interesting seeing like the different levels of education and requirements and regulation. But I think this is also why so many people use brokers, is because they're like, well, we know you're going to work in our best interests, and we know you're going to find all these different options available for us. So nowadays, I mean, you started in Loan Market up in Newcastle, looking at car loans specifically. Do you now also write mortgages?
No, so actually reversed, back to front. I started in mortgages. I was a CSM for Heath, my boss.
Yeah.
And I had to learn the process, because for us, the process is so straightforward. We're so process driven, where if we didn't follow that process, then I'd be missing certain parts of what we do. You know, our role as a broker is to educate clients. And if we're not learning what we're doing, then we're not educating our clients. So I started as a CSM, speaking with business development managers and relationship managers, learning the systems, starting from the bottom. And then Heath was also doing mortgages. He was a solo broker. He was doing mortgages and asset finance. And then as we grew, he said to me, Nick, do you want to look at doing asset finance? And I said, absolutely. I love it. It's fun. Yeah. And it's enjoyable. I wanted to take the element of a transaction out of it, because at the end of the day, for some people, it's their biggest purchase. Yeah. And we want to make it exciting, and we want them to learn that it's not just about the transaction. It's about more than that, like their credit reporting and how this will help them in the future. And potentially they'll come back to us and do their mortgage.
Yeah, awesome. So having a good experience for their first loan, and then kind of bringing in other business to you as well, because it was such a great experience.
Yes.
Normally I ask brokers how you chose your aggregator, but because you've joined an existing brokerage that's a loan market brokerage, I'm assuming the choice was sort of made for you.
Yeah, it was made for me, but I do know the story. I believe it was, Heath was saying this to me yesterday, but I believe it was just because of their core values and that they're a family business. And he really loved that aspect. Him and his wife, Jess, really loved the family value of a business. It still is a family business. We do have, from time to time, we see Sam White and his wife, his beautiful wife, Kate. And we do enjoy saying hello to them, and they're quite lovely.
Yeah, the whole Ray White family there.
Yes.
Like Loan Market with Sam White, obviously the executive chairman, and then kind of like all the huge group they have. They've dominated property and the mortgage broking landscape there with the family. So looking at, not only having a family business as your aggregator, but also at Loan Market in Newcastle, kind of family-based business too.
Correct, yes.
So what do you now do? What's your bread and butter loans that you're writing?
Yeah, so, we do a mix of, asset finance is so broad. We do not only commercial finance, but we do a lot more consumer, because our book base, where we get our leads from, are mostly consumer. They get pay slips. So we want to assist them and we want them to come back to us, and we want them to be at barbecues and say, you know what, they help me with my house, but they also help me with my car, my boat, my jet ski, my tractor, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So are you, like, if you were looking at what your split is between consumer asset finance and business asset finance, what would be the difference? Or business finance?
Oh, it's such a broad question because it depends on the time of the year. I feel like closer to end of financial year, it's always commercial. And then predominantly, I think we see a lot more consumer towards Christmas time.
All the cars being bought Christmas presents.
Yeah, not so much Christmas presents. I've actually asked this question to clients before. It's like, is this a Christmas present? And they're just like, no, I've got the time now to look at vehicles. Can we get a pre-approval in place, or can we look at getting that car loan?
So if you know that those are kind of the two peak times, let's say 6 months into the year and then the end of the year, what do you do to manage your flow of business in the quieter months?
Yes. I was having this conversation with my boss yesterday, and he said, do you really want to be honest? And I was like, yeah. He goes, tell them that your boss manages it. I'm like, that's not true. He does hold me accountable, and I think that's great. Accountability is a main asset, a main facet of what managing clients is, but it's also understanding what that client's need are. Can we talk to them outside of business hours? And yes, I know in the industry it is difficult to switch off at times, but it's also, we know that that's not going to be the case for the rest of the year. Yeah. So at times we do have to manage that. That means working a little bit later, starting a little bit earlier, but it's not always the same day. You know, I'm not working 9 till 12 in the morning, constantly. It might just be once every month or once every couple of months, just depending.
9 till 12 in the morning, like midnight?
Well, again, depends.
It's a long day.
It is. It just depends on how many clients we're servicing.
Yeah.
So we also make sure that we're prioritising things in the diaries, so paper-based, and our CRM platform assists with that as well. We do have tasks that come up, and then we write that into our diary and prioritise it from there. And
so I guess, kind of what I'm hearing is that, like, you might be super busy at times, like let's say in June and December, but the quieter times you're kind of enjoying because it's been such a busy time at the peak, sort of two peaks. Yeah,
well, we're on the hunt. I'm hungry. Let's do more business. So in the quieter times, I do enjoy it, but I also start to get a little bit antsy because at the end of the day, it's still a business. So we do need to ensure that we're constantly servicing those clients. And if they're not, every person has a need for funds. So where are they going? The thought pattern. Do we need to do more marketing? Do I need to be out doing more networking? So it just depends on the appetite as well. If it's quite constant, then there's no need to chase.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a fun sort of grind.
Yeah. So nowadays, like, walk me through what your typical week looks like. Like, what sort of loans are you writing? What sort of things are you doing? What does a day in the life or a week in the life of Nick Romero look like?
Oh, every week's different but the same. I think everyone can say that. It's all mindset. On a Monday, it's generally managing what's happened over the weekend, because a lot of clients will go car shopping or they'll think about things on the weekend, and we'll need to manage that the Monday because we work Monday to Friday predominantly. I'll get a text message or an email on the weekends at times, and I'll read them and reply accordingly and say, I'll get back to you on Monday. So Mondays are quite busy for us.
Yeah.
It's also a great opportunity. I think our workplace does it really well. Is we de-stress, we talk about the weekend. We also talk about the week ahead, and then we speak about how we can assist each other to getting more productive and being more efficient. Mm-hmm. Tuesdays is generally still an on-flow and managing and trying to understand what clients' needs are. We do a lot of research in asset. 9 times out of 10, if you know your lenders, you know who you're going to put them through, but we still have a duty of care because I operate under best interest duty, the duty of care to understand or ensure that that client knows what they're getting into. So we talk about the 2 different types or 3 different types of lenders that we've suggested, and then we're following them up. Hey, do you have any questions? Is there anything you don't understand about this? And then we go into our bid document and we make our recommendation and suggestions based off of that. And we always want to ensure that that client knows why they're getting that loan, much to their dismay at times, I feel like, because they're like, why is this process a little bit like that? It's like, well, we prefer you to understand. Like, we're here to assist you and educate you through that process.
You don't want surprises coming up.
Yeah, not only that, but you don't want clients going, well, you never told me about this. We pride ourselves on transparency. So they know that they're going to sign a document that lists everything that we've already discussed. Then we lodge the application, and then we look at, and not so much fight with lenders, but we have discussions with assessors. I really enjoy that part of my job. Learning what assessors do is a key component because they're educating you as a broker as well, because you're learning their policies. They're going to assess the application, and then from that, you're growing as well as a broker. So
what do you find about? Like how they're interpreting finance, or like what their credit appetite is like, or are you fighting about like why your client should get the loan? Like, what is the sort of things that you're challenging them on? Yeah,
I don't think fight's probably the best word. Maybe because I'm South American, I use that word quite passionately. But it's not a fight. It's more of a understanding of why they've made that decision. Is it servicing? Why have they added that calculation in? Living expenses. Prime example, this morning I was speaking to, on my drive here, I was speaking to an assessor as to why they've taken a loan from a 36-month term to a 60-month term, and it was servicing. For me, it was understanding why they'd done that. Was it because they perceived the bank statements a certain way? Was it because they didn't have faith in the application or the strength of that client? So for me, it's understanding. And then the challenge that I have is, how about we look at it a different perspective? Because I feel like what you're saying isn't wrong. It's just I'm looking at it on this perspective, and there is enough there. Let's look at a 36-month term, which is what that client wants.
Yeah. So that's a big difference as well.
Yeah. We're advocating at the end of the day. We're the intermediary between the client and the lender. Wednesday is generally just assessment lodgement times. We'll get sort of the Wednesday workflow where we'll get more applications or more inquiry. And then Thursday is my B&I day, which is business networking. So I'm up in the morning doing networking because that's quite important, you know.
It's fun. What do you do? Like, what do you do for that? Is it coffee mornings? Is it like a conference? Like, what do they typically look like?
Yeah, I feel like, and I say this in the nicest way possible, it's not a cult, but everybody sees it as being
Everybody loves their B&I.
They do. And I do love it because you get to meet different people from different fields. And understand what they do and build the trust there as well, because it is a big, it's all about trust. So Thursdays is B&I. The other part of B&I that I love is that people want to help you grow your business. I would like to say that I'm like a business within a business, because everybody else is focused on residential. I need to focus on asset finance. So I've got to drive that as well.
Yep.
But it's not so much just me driving it. The boss is doing that. We have our referral partners as well that are constantly driving it as well. So Thursdays are networking, and then Fridays is wind down day. So we'll preemptively discuss pre-approvals with clients and what they do if they look at vehicles over the weekend, or if they have a thought over the weekend. And then Mondays, again, going through what they've looked at.
How many loans do you reckon you write a year?
Year on year, I feel like we're at, last year it was 147, 48.
Is that for the whole brokerage?
No, just for you? Just for me.
Wow. It's a lot of cars. And boats and caravans.
Boats and caravans. I'd like to do more, but yeah, it is quite a lot, and it's just managing those. I think averages out to 10 or 12 per month.
Yeah. Cool. So a couple a week. What sort of things are you mostly like focusing on now? Like, are you kind of focusing on cars like this time of year, September, October? Is there any trends that you're seeing, what people are coming to you for?
Yeah, actually a lot of renovations, home renovations. It's an odd time because we work with mortgage brokers. There's servicing issues or times of SLAs have extended. So it's a quick process in asset.
Yeah.
So getting those funds to that client with a particular lender that doesn't have any early termination fees that will then enable that client to complete their constructions or their renovations quite quickly, and then look at adding the value to their property and then refinancing or topping that up.
It's actually a really good example, I think, of how you can kind of how you kind of look at the big picture for clients' finance, because if you're looking at an asset finance loan, you've got to also then consider what the impact is for the rest of their financial sort of needs or the rest of the debt that they have.
Yes.
So that's a good sort of example, I think, of saying, does the asset finance loan work with what they're doing on their construction property, on their property? Can you remember what your first deal was that settled?
Oh, it's again, because I was transitioning between being a customer service manager or a CSM to an asset broker. I don't quite remember the first one. There are memorable ones.
Yeah, maybe give me a memorable one.
I think one of my most memorable was a politically exposed person. So PEP is quite important in our industry. It's an odd situation. We couldn't assist that client in the end, but it was great in terms of education, knowing what happens if we do come across someone that is politically exposed. But essentially this client's mother was a politician and had come up against legal issues, and the lender did their research and decided not to assist with loan because there was quite a background to that client's mother that could potentially lead to
challenge.
Yeah, challenges, but it's also for them it's AML, so anti-money laundering. So that is quite important.
Interesting. I've never thought of AML-CTF from a political perspective. That's an interesting one, yeah.
Yeah.
And any that you've sort of settled that you were like, that was fantastic, like a really amazing loan?
I feel like helping clients is just heartwarming for me. It's the biggest joy that I receive. One of my clients in particular had a horrible experience with a lender that tied all their properties into one, getting them out of that position, just even with a personal loan so they could build. Because with builds, once you're in that construction process, it's really hard for you to obtain more funds once the lender's gone. This is what your funds are, especially at a point where the cost of materials have increased.
Yeah. And you can't extend.
Well, you can't extend and you can't do a valuation on that property. So the personal loan aspect of it was quite important so that they could finalise their build and obtain the occupancy certificate and then look at refinancing. And they didn't have a great experience with that particular lender. So then we got them to a point where they could refinance with a different lender. I actually spoke to this particular client not long ago and I became quite close with her and her husband. She's a lovely grandmother and she's always contacting me, checking in, saying, "Oh, thank you so much. You got me out of such a bad situation." And we
must
really
feel amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a highlight for me.
And in terms of asset finance, any weird or wonderful things that you finance that stick out?
Oh, not so much weird and wonderful, but just I think one of our clients, they do the shop fronts for like Louis Vuitton and all the designer brands, which makes I feel a little bit happy about it.
Yeah.
Too. But they do more CNC equipment and machinery. I think it was just the journey. That one probably stands out the most to me because they brought all their offshoring of their manufacturing from China to Australia. And now they have it all in-house. So very full circle and very memorable for me.
Yeah. And in terms of like, I guess, the sort of things that you love doing, are there any loans where you're like, yes, I get to finance this, like whether that's asset or if it's a personal loan or a sort of consumer loan? What sort of thing that makes you jump out of bed being like, I can't wait to get my teeth into this?
I I think for any broker, it's just an easy, straightforward lend. That
Yeah.
one, the ones that you don't have to challenge or think about or educate yourself, where you're just know where you're going to put it. The client's very easygoing, and then you can just submit it. That is very exciting for me because everybody's circumstances are so different these days. There is always an aspect of learning.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, Nick. When we come back, I'd like to talk about how you actually write your loans, which kind of lenders you're using, what your process looks like, and we'll get into that just after this. So, Nick, looking at your actual process for finding leads, and you were talking about obviously how Heath kind of helps you and the company helps you, but what do you do, to actually make sure business is coming through the doors? Are you, when you're at your BNI networks, for example, are you kind of being like, hey, anyone needs some asset finance loans? Or are you asking your clients for referrals? Like, where do you find new business from?
Yeah, if you've ever been to Newcastle, for starters, I'll answer this by saying...
I have, it's lovely.
Yes. Everybody knows everybody in Newcastle. So much so that it's almost at times humorous. So a lot of it comes in organically or from experience, like from friends or from the community. And then it's, again, organic. I remember one scenario where I had a client who was purchasing a vehicle, and then the seller actually said to me, do you do finance? I am actually looking for a bike. So can you help me with that? So in that aspect, it's organic. The majority of apart from our existing loan book, but the majority of our leads do come from referral partners and their experience with us, because we have to work quite closely with them. Not all mortgage brokers have the privilege of having an asset finance broker or have the mindset to swap from residential to asset, because it does challenge your thought process at times. It is different, but much the same.
Yeah.
So referral partners for us is a big one. Marketing in Google, we're starting to see a lot more inquiry from that. I think we had a wild one from AI the other day, which was ChatGPT, which was quite interesting.
So they'd recommended you?
Yeah, they recommended Loan Market Newcastle CBD. It was,
wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
I mean, this is a whole new thing we're having to wrap our heads around, isn't it? Is looking at how do we improve our searchability through AI platforms now, because it used to all be about SEO and all about Google, and now it's all about how else am I like getting like GEO rather than SEO, and like looking at how AI treating me, how am I being found? So
yes,
it's a whole new thing to learn. But that's exciting, seeing someone get a referral from AI for you. Do you, when you're talking about referral partners, do you actually have to form your own referral partnerships? Did you bring anyone in? Do you kind of go off what the brokerage had already established? Like, I wonder how you actually find and work with bringing in referral partners.
So for us, it's off the back of networking. So we'll go to a professional development day or other brokers that have seen our name or my name, and they'll give us a call and say, hey, can you assist us? So it does come from at times being at those social events where they'll talk about it and say, oh, I have actually a lot of clients that do require asset finance, but we're not servicing those needs.
Yeah.
So building close relationships with those to begin with those brokers, and then they'll start referring or ask questions and tiptoe into the waters of asset finance. And then I think it will take one or two key referrals from them where they're content and they have that trust, and they'll continually send more and more.
Yeah. So do you find that most of your business that comes from outside from referrals that isn't organic is from brokers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not from financial planners or accountants?
No, I mean, financial planners and accountants will start sending them through around tax time, or if they have a necessity for it for cash flow reasons. We'll see a lot of the time clients from accountants come through to us for those sorts of loans. But it's few and far between. We're actually now working closely with a financial planner to see if we can assist their clients, and it's working quite well.
Do you do much novated leasing?
Loan Market does. I don't personally. As much as it is easy, it is quite time consuming, because if there's no established lease agreement with a particular company, then you have to set that up. So we have key partners that assist us with any clients looking at doing leasing.
Yeah, so you refer out to them.
Yeah, correct.
It's all a circle, isn't it?
It
all
is.
a circle.
Yeah.
Making sure that everyone gets a solution, but you don't necessarily have to do it yourself. When you actually then talk to your clients, so how does that work? Are you doing face-to-face interviews? Are you doing it by Zoom? Are you on the phone? Like, let's say I need a car loan. Mm-hmm. How would I get one from you?
It depends where you're up to in your abeyance state of mind. You know, where have you put that priority of the car purchase? Sometimes it will be a text message or an email or a phone call. If you're the type of person that enjoys a phone call, then I will pick up the phone and say, how are you? And understand what your needs are. And then we discuss certain things like, are you looking at going on holidays, or are you looking at having a family, or do you think you're going to drop back hours at work? Those sorts of questions not only help build rapport for me, but they also give me an understanding as to loan term, repayments, lifestyle. We need to find something that's not going to affect your everyday lifestyle. If you're someone that travels quite frequently, we want to look at the lowest repayments possible, and still give you the ability to make extra repayments. So if you were to call me and start that process, it's also discussing those things and educating you as well as to what we're looking at and why we're looking at that.
Yeah. Do you ever, I know that from previous conversations with asset finance brokers, like a lot of brokers might specialise, particularly I think if they're doing business asset, in like a particular thing.
Yes.
So like, I think like one person was specialising in mining equipment, for example.
Yeah.
Do you ever kind of like go and look at that sort of stuff? Like if you are doing any business asset,
yes,
which you kind of were saying most of it is actually more around consumer.
Correct.
But do you ever like go and actually look at the asset they're buying?
In person, no, because we do have...
busy.
Yeah, we do have to service clients. What I've done actually is I get clients to send me text messages with pictures of their asset. So I had one yesterday which warmed me up. Client that was a referral, oddly, through another client and then his cousin as well.
All right.
So he sent me a message. He picked his bike up and he said it looks fantastic, and that's where I see the asset in particular.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm not going to dealerships, no, and standing there and watching the asset.
Yeah, because I know that like some brokers, like if it's a house, they might go with their first clients to auction, for example.
Yes.
I'm like, does that work in asset finance? Do you like go to the dealership and like, a car? But I'm like, you probably don't have time to do that for every single client that you've got.
No, it's not. Listen, some brokers do it, and I think it's incredible that they have the time to do that, and it's not to discourage the fact that it's part of their experience.
Yeah.
For them, it might be a fantastic experience for that client. For me, it's just more of the factors, learning where my limitations are with that client. You know, do I really want to interject myself in person to going to the dealership?
Yeah.
I think having that dealership background as well helps immensely, because we're coaching that client to going into the dealership and preemptively letting them know what their process is going to be as well, sitting in there for hours on end.
Yeah, for a long time. And particularly, I think as well, like if it comes to really a competitive nature where they might have a finance specialist in the dealership who might try and take them away from you.
Yes.
Do you have to kind of like walk them through how to kind of deal with that?
Yes, I think competition is important, but also it's our biggest struggle. Car dealerships have access to different lenders that at times have better rates than what we do, and rate campaigns and floor ownership of those vehicles. For us, when we're letting those clients know about when they're going to the dealership, yes, we are coaching them, telling them when they go sit in with the business manager, they are going to offer them finance. We're not oblivious to that. Yeah. And they're more than welcome to look at it because they're human and they're allowed to. We're not stopping them from doing that. Yeah. I think it then comes down to trust. That client wants to sign the contract and just go home after spending so much time in a dealership, because it is quite a drawn-out process and it is exhausting, and I quite understand that. So we're letting them know what they're signing, the contract that they're signing, because most vehicle purchase contracts are very much the same, whether it's bikes, boats, trailers, they all have a clause at the back of the contract that says, are you financing internally, externally, or are you paying cash?
Yeah.
So, yes, we are telling them that they can go speak to that business manager or that finance broker, and they're more than welcome to proceed with them. But we're hoping and fingers crossed that they come back to us.
Yeah, of course. And when it comes to like marketing, you mentioned there as well about things that you kind of do online. Do you do any marketing yourself? Are you putting yourself out on socials? Are you doing any advertising? Are you in the community doing any kind of promotional marketing work? Like, what are sort of things that you specifically do look like?
Yeah, great question. I am a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to social media. Not so much on a judgment perspective. It's just more the fact that I'm like, oh, will this be perceived as the right way, especially with all the misinformation that we're receiving in social media today.
Yeah.
So I err on the side of caution. That's not to say that something might not come in the future and I might start marketing myself on Instagram or Facebook. But for the most part, we do like to leave a good community footprint. Loan Market Newcastle CBD does support local football clubs, and we're at the moment doing Jets in Business for the Newcastle Jets, which is
cool,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
what does that involve?
It's essentially just a networking group for for the Newcastle Jets. So we support them, but there are certain limitations because there's already lenders or one big lender that does have the rights.
The main sponsorship.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. When you look at then engaging with the community, and you were saying like in Newcastle everyone knows each other, and you kind of, I imagine it's sort of one of those places where like you go to the supermarket and people are like, oh, hey Nick, like how you going?
Yeah.
How do you like kind of ensure that you're embedded in the community? Like, do you kind of go out and like hand out business cards to people? Like aside from the BNI, like I mean more for like consumers. How do you kind of get out there and get known?
I just chat. I talk to people. Like I do park runs on Saturdays. So I have a chat to people. It's always so
While
hard.
you're running, I can't do two things at once like that. I'm like, if I'm running, I'm like, do not talk to me. I'm going to die.
No, yeah, I'm the same. I probably get to the 2.5K mark and go, please help me. Why did I decide on doing this? No, it's generally beforehand where we'll either see someone I'll go to the gym with locally or someone who knows someone that we speak to, and they just, organically they'll just say, what do you do? And I'll generally say an asset finance broker, but I like to break it down a little bit because it's such a broad terminology. But mostly at the gym, I crack a couple jokes. My dad jokes never cease to amaze anybody. I always call them knee slappers.
Knee slappers.
Yeah, because I'm the only one slapping my knee. It's very funny. But yes, I tend to do a lot of that. My parents are very known in their South American community up there as well. So,
is there a big South American community in Newcastle?
It's not big, but
so
it's
just them.
It's
those
tight.
Two, yeah.
No, there is quite a group that they tend to hang around with, and we do speak to them, and they always have kids that need help, and my parents like to market me. I feel like all parents like to talk about their kids, right?
That's good. Yeah. When you think about then how you actually manage your workload, do you use any tools or technology to help you specifically with asset finance?
Yeah. Our CRM platform allows us to manage where our clients are up to in their process. So in terms of tools, I'd probably suggest that utilising our CRM platform is quite key for me. Diarising everything as well. I'm one of those people that likes to get to know my clients, so I'll think about it constantly. I know what clients' names are, what they're where they're up to in the process, and I'll think about it.
Yeah.
So not so much other than technology of the CRM platform and our diary. There's really not another.
When you think about then any other tools or tech that you use, because asset finance as well, I remember the first time I did an interview with an asset finance broker and they were talking about Glassons, and I was a bit like, I have no idea what that is. I was like, do you mean like the shop? I was like the clothes shop? They're talking about Glassons? And I was like, what? And they were like, no, glasses. And I was like spectacles? And it took me ages to figure out what they were actually talking about. But there's obviously different things that you can pull on as an asset finance broker.
Yep.
Do you use anything else like that? Any kind of resources or anything in your day-to-day that a resi broker It is massive. Yeah. I learned that along the way. I had to look it up because I was like, what are they talking about?
Did they educate you? No, for us, in terms of tools, also private sales, like every situation and scenario is so different. For private sales, we're using Verimodo or Docs AI, which is now what they've changed to, because their platform allows the client or the seller to actually do everything externally or the inspection report where they are.
Yeah.
So for me, that assists them rather than me having to go out or sending someone else. They can do that themselves, which assists the process and pushes it along.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, Nick. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about what's next for you, how you expect to grow and your business within Loan Market Newcastle, but also what you kind of love and hate in the industry. Maybe hate's a strong word. What you love and find challenging in the industry. And we'll get into that just after this. So, Nick, you've been in the industry now long enough that you kind of know what you're doing. You're obviously a elite broker. You're doing loads of loans a year. What's next for you? Like, where do you want to go in the future?
Yeah, I think for anybody that's hungry as a broker is growth. You know, for me, I'm at the moment solo as a asset finance broker within Loan Market CBD. In the future, we hope to have our own section, like our own arm of maybe 3 brokers and 2 CSMs, or that might be outsourcing CSMs overseas. It just depends on what the future looks like. And I feel like it's watch this space and get ready for the roller coaster.
Wow, exciting. So really looking at building out the volume of business that you're doing so you can bring in more support and then also build on more brokers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how are you going to do that?
I feel like the start of that would be to increase volume. That might be a little bit more hard work and working out of hours, which is a bit of pain for long-term game. I think growth and bringing in more leads, you know, building that trust further with more referral partners and bringing them on and building client base and then continually growing from there.
What are your biggest challenges as an asset finance broker? Like, what sort of things hold you back?
It's a great question. I think competition holds us back, and the misinformation that the media provides clients. You know, I think everybody would like to think that their credit file is amazing, but they don't understand that that can affect an application, especially in asset. When we look at certain types of loans, for example, an unsecured personal loan, the lender's going to look at their credit scoring. So their comprehensive, their one score, their Vita score, everything. They're going to look at the credit score and the credit profile. So education is probably the key there.
And when you said competition, do you mean from other brokers or from lenders or from car finance specialists? Like, who's your competition?
I feel like dealerships are always going to be our competition. And marketing is really good online these days. You know, I could be scrolling through car sales or even Instagram for that matter and see a fantastic quoted rate. And then they don't read the terms and conditions, which is great for marketing. But for me, it's re-educating and saying, hey, that's fantastic. And you have to fit into every single criteria to receive that.
Yeah.
But this is actually going to be your rate.
Yeah, and also looking at things like what are the end payments, like, you know, and things like that.
Is there a balloon? Is there a residual added onto this? Like, what is the terms and conditions? And I think understanding the competition is a key component as well. Apart from that, challenges, you know.
For you, like, as a broker, like, what were the hardest things that you had to learn when you kind of came into it for the first time?
How to speak to clients, you know.
The sales sort of element.
The sales sort of element. I mean, I come from sales, but how to solve a problem for them, finding a solution and how to speak to them, because frustration always airs from the side of misunderstanding or the lack of understanding. So managing those clients and their expectations as well is one of the hardest things you have to learn. And to this day, you know, an outcome for however good it is, the journey there, if that client has been upset because I haven't learned how to communicate with them adequately, then their experience with us is not going to be a good one.
Yeah. It's a nice way of thinking of it. Nick, you mentioned earlier about being a female in quite a male-dominated space. The asset finance space traditionally been like kind of a bloke's club, if I can say that. But nowadays, obviously, much more different. What are the biggest challenges do you find with being in the minority in asset finance?
I think about this question constantly. Purely because whenever I see or go to awards, I don't really see any female names up on the board. So for me, I really enjoy uplifting women that are already doing asset finance. If they are, and I think I met one broker, she's new to industry as a broker. She came from the car dealerships. I always just said, if there's anything I can do to assist, anything I can do to help, any questions, give me a call, because we're here to support each other at the end of the day. Challenges that I'd probably suggest is, I feel like there is this stigma still, as much as we do get the support that we deserve in now day and age, there's still a stigma in the industry. That might be the old dogs that tend to say, well, you're a female. Why do you do what you do? Can you just work under someone else?
Outrageous.
I know. It's the feeling. You can sort of feel it. It's not so much something that's said, but you can definitely feel the elephant in the room when that happens. I find it still quite horrible when I feel like that at times when I go to events where it is quite male dominated. I feel like the support that we get around us as women is so incredible in today's day and age, especially in finance. We see these awards, Women in Finance.
Thanks very much. Yep.
Yep. You're welcome. But we also have Facebook groups that we become part of, and uplifting other women in the industry is quite a key component to try and change the stigma that surrounds women in broking.
Yeah, I know Loan Market's got Leading Ladies as well. Super popular group.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of fun, that group too. What are the best things that you love about broking in your career so far?
Oh, telling a client they're approved. I think that's most brokers, especially the challenging ones that you've had to work like day and night to understand policy or find the right lender, because their situation is not an easy, straightforward one. So approval, getting them that approval and contacting them and saying, hey, guess what? We got you that approval. And the excitement for me is, second to none. Yeah. Something that drives me every single day.
What for you is like the mark of good customer service?
Communication. 100%. I feel like the different forms of communication platforms that we have, text message, phone call, when you're speaking to someone, it's understanding how they want to be communicated to and doing that in the right way. You know, I speak to nurses, and I know that at times they're probably on ward, quite busy, and the last thing they want to do is receive a phone call. So I'll send them a text message. Hey, when you're free, can you give me a call? Just wanting to discuss this. Sending them an email as well.
Yeah, so meeting the client where they're at and how they want to be reached.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's one of the key questions I ask is, do you prefer email, phone call, or text message? How do you want to be communicated with? Because at the end of the day, we understand that you guys work hard as clients, and the last thing we want to do is disturb you.
Yeah. When you think then about the kind of biggest issues, not necessarily for you as a broker, but like in industry, if there was anything you could fix that would make your life easier, like, do you have any bugbears where you're like, you know what, I don't know why we do this, or like, I wish this was a bit simpler? Is there anything like that you kind of think, if we could fix this, it would make my life so much more efficient?
Probably not so much with everyday life. I mean, sometimes not being able to speak to a client verbally can make things challenging. I'd love to be able to just make that simpler, you know, if it was a virtual sort of connection that we could do. I don't think they've built that technology yet.
Yeah, just like telepathically connected. Yeah.
Hey, by the way.
Like Black Mirror.
Yes.
And then just thinking about like kind of the longevity in broking, obviously you talked about how there are real times of like peak activity and really busy periods. And so being able to actually decompress from that is quite important to make sure you're not sort of burning out, and not just every 6 months, but I think ongoing. Do you do anything to like unwind and de-stress or decompress from the stress of the work?
Yeah, it's a question that we get played with every single day, because we do need to have some sort of work-life balance. We get told this, and at times, because we care so much and we want to see the outcome of an application or a client proceed, it's hard. For me personally, I get pushed to, my husband likes to push me to go do park runs, which is fantastic because your focus shifts. So then that way you're not so much thinking about work anymore. You're now focused on posture and running. The other thing I do is go to the gym, and I love getting a massage sometimes. It's always nice to switch off and hear the soothing sounds.
Love that. Yeah. Very good fitness minded as well. Good outlet there. And finally, Nick, if you had any advice to new brokers just starting out in asset finance, or anyone thinking about writing asset finance for the first time, what advice would you give them?
I think having the right support in a mentor is important. And just support someone that's going to be by your side, that's going to push and drive you in the moments where you think, I'm actually not doing too well, I don't think I should keep going, is having someone going, no, you're actually doing better than you think you are. Keep going, keep striving, keep pushing. So for that, it's, I think, the mindset that I'd like new brokers to have. But the other side of it, in the education side, is don't be afraid to pick up the phone and speak to BDMs and assessors. Most of your education and learning policies is going to come from giving those calls or making those calls. And you might make someone stay too.
Yeah.
You might say to an assessor, oh my gosh, I hope you're having a fantastic Friday, because I make sure, me personally, that when I speak to assessors, I'm giving them the utmost importance, because they're the ones that are approving the applications at the end of the day.
Yeah. And is there anything that you wish you knew when you first started?
Don't be afraid to push your way through the rainforest. I heard something in broking not long ago. Actually, I went to a Loan Market conference, and they said there's two people in the world. There's a plantation person, and then there's a rainforest person. And the plantation person is going to slot in to the process that's already existing. The rainforest person is always going to sashay way through the rainforest, through the thick and thin. So I think is just be courageous that you might fail.
Awesome. Nick Romero, thank you so much for your time today, talking about your journey as an asset finance broker at Loan Market Newcastle, and for sharing your story here on Elite Broker.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you've got any questions for me or for Nick, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me, editor@theadvisor.com.au. And of course, check out what Nick Romero is doing at Loan Market if you want to find out more about her journey. And please do take a listen back to previous episodes of the Elite Broker, New Broker podcasts that are on the Advisor Podcast Network, along with the What's Making Headlines podcast, the weekly wrap up of the news we've been writing about, plus In Focus, which looks at specific elements of the mortgage and finance broking industry in depth. You can find those all on the Advisor Podcast Network.